Hello and welcome everyone to day 2 of 12 days of manifesting magic. So I hope that you are doing well. I put a link in the chat box today for you to have a worksheet so that you can write out your dreams and desires and intentions for 2024, which was your assignment for yesterday. So hopefully you have a journal. If you don't have a journal, there's that handy dandy worksheet. You can just grab the link and just download it instantly, and then you'll have the segments to be able to write down your dreams, desires. I know that you probably already put a lot of thought into that, but it's also really nice to have a tangible written form journal of some sort, just to make it even more real, get into the next level, and then also so that you can have something to track your success and the things that come your way, so you can catch your patterns. There's all kinds of different reasons to keep a journal. I keep many journals. I love them. They will be my legacy when I'm I'm sure. So today we are going to dive into principle number 2, which is imagination. So yesterday we talked about desire. Today we're moving into imagination. So it's a tangible activity that we can use with our desires to actually help manifest them. So imagination is one of my very favorite topics to talk about, and I really do think it's the most important part of the manifesting process. And I'll tell you why. I can guarantee you that nothing tangible on this planet has come forth without first being a product of someone's imagination. So all things start in the imagination. The imagination is the portal to all things manifest. So it's kind of a big deal. I know when we were kids, we talked about imagination. We thought imagination was basically specifically only for the kids, and then when you grew up you were supposed to stop using that thing because it's distracting and it's just not real, and wake up and face the music and get real. Right? So unfortunately, culturally, a lot of us had our imaginations kind of put out or stomped out, definitely. And so it's definitely my favorite faculty. It's part of the crown chakra and third eye system of who we are. It's everything. It's the bottom line. It's how everything comes into reality. So let me talk a little bit about the imagination, and feel free to chime in if you guys have any questions or comments, and would like a little more clarification or coaching on anything. All right, so my chat is open. Let me open up my blog post on imagination. Where did it go? Give me just one sec. But I have so many, my favorite quotes are about imagination. I know that you know some of them. A lot of my favorite teachers, philosophers, writers really talked a lot about imagination. Neville Goddard being one, Wayne Dyer being another, Albert Einstein being a third, the Transcendentalists. The imagination is just such an underrated big deal. Alrighty, so here's my post with my notes. So I call the imagination most definitely your secret weapon manifesting tool, by far, by far. It's the first, desire is the first thing. And then what do you do with that desire? Well, do you just let it go? When we take our desires and then we use our imagination to run movies in our heads. And some of you are visual, some of you, I know that you guys use your imagination in all kinds of different ways. Some people see things, and some people can use their imagination just to sense or feel, right? There's no right or wrong way. And a lot of people believe that they aren't very visual or very imaginative. But if I said blue tricycle right now, I know you're going to get an image or a feeling or something about that blue tricycle. It's undeniable, right? And so using our imaginations is most definitely a tool to help solidify and bring forth those desires in even a more tangible way. So, secret weapon manifesting tool. A lot of people think that I'm going to be talking about a vision board, and that's not my secret weapon manifesting tool. A vision board is a tool, but it's not the tool. The imagination is fundamentally stronger. It's built in, it's more powerful, it's inside of you, it's free to use. You can use it all day long, anytime you want to. It's pretty amazing. It's the place where you can go to try things on without risk, without an investment. So you can literally imagine yourself in different scenarios, even with different people in different jobs, in different locations, and you can play it out and see what comes up for you. And then you can make decisions around these things. So I use my imagination in my intuitive work all the time. That's how I connect with people. That's how I connect with their energy. That's how I connect with their scenarios that they're wanting to weigh out the pros and the cons. The imagination and my intuition, my heart, they're all connected. The imagination is just the movie screen that you can see everything on. It's pretty cool stuff, guys. And so Albert Einstein said, imagine, he said a lot of things about imagination, but this is one thing that he said. Imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions, right? So the beauty of the imagination, like I said, is that it's unlimited and it's completely free to use. The problem is that most people use it wrong. They don't use it to their benefit. We're all using our imaginations. It's like what I was talking about yesterday when we're that antenna and we're transmitting and we're thinking about certain things, and a lot of that stems from our imaginations. Some people intentionally use their imaginations while others are reacting to the stimulus around them. And so a reactive imagination versus an intentional imagination makes all the difference in your manifestations, makes all the difference in the quality of your life. Let me give you an example. All of us use imagination or intention when we're blowing out our birthday candles, for example. You are intentionally using your imagination to make a wish, by the way. It's my make a wish mug, 1111. You are intentionally using your imagination to wish for something positive. Now, this is a tradition that we've been doing for a long time, but we only do it once a year. So I'm all about doing it all the time. And I'm going to share with you how I utilize my imagination on a daily basis, and in more intentional rituals that I do, that are very beneficial, that will speed up your manifesting process in no time. Another way, though, the flip side of using our imagination is when, say, you're watching the evening news and there's violence and despair all around. And then your imagination gets triggered and you start to imagine or have scenarios in your mind, which is called imagining, and worrying about your safety, worrying about the state of the world, worrying. And so to me, the definition of worry is using your imagination upside down. So you're still using your imagination, but now it's you're stuck in a loop of negativity. And yesterday I talked in depth about how whenever we're thinking or imagining, we're broadcasting, and whatever it is that we're broadcasting out there is being returned to us. So it is in our best interest to really learn how to leverage our imaginations for our health, our benefit, our well-being, and manifesting, so that we are living a life of intention and purpose instead of reacting to everything around us. That is so disempowering. I think important to understand what is happening around us so that maybe we can be a beneficial change to it. But if we're only reacting to it in fear, in cringing, in making our world smaller, in feeling disempowered and trapped, that is not beneficial to us. And it's a creation of our own imaginings. It really is. I mean, if we look in the present moment, like right this second, all of our needs are met. We're fine. We're good. You know, a lot of us, most of us have food in the fridge. We have a heating system. We have Wi-Fi. We have so many things to be comfortable with that there is no um, immediate fear or threat to us. But so obviously, it's really important what we feed our consciousness, what we feed our minds, so that we have more, I want to say, control over our imaginations, over the thoughts that we are having over and over. So it's super important to get ahead of this and to really understand all of these God-given faculties that we have at our disposal that we can use to really create our lives. And so the question is, how are you creating your life? How are you utilizing your imagination? Are you intending? Are you using your imagination proactively? Or are your fears and all of that feeding your imagination and creating monsters, basically? We have free will. We can do both. And a lot of times we do both. So when we are in the fear place, we can redirect that, right? We can go into a different imagining. We can go into a different thought process. Instead of recoiling in fear, we can notice that, oh, that is painful and scary. And I choose to look at something differently. The person who I think is probably the most practiced at this, who taught us, is the author of As a Man Thinketh. Was it Viktor Frankl? He was in a Nazi concentration camp. I can't imagine anything worse than that. So here he is in a Nazi concentration camp, stripped of everything he is and owns in the physical realm. So he survived, and then he decided to write about his experience. And as dismal and as frightening his surroundings were, and the fact that he did survive, while he was there, he made it a point to never never have his imagination be taken away from him. That was the one thing that he owned. That was the one thing that they couldn't take. So he lived in his imagination, and he stayed in that place where he's taking notes, he's thinking about the future, he's manifesting his release, he's thinking about what he's going to do when he gets out, he's thinking about how he's going to pay it forward and help humanity. He's collecting all this data, all this evidence, and storing it in his imagination. And they can beat him, they can do all the things, but they cannot extract his imagination. That was his power. That was the thing that got him through that and helped him survive, and then write a book and indeed help humanity at a very profound level. This is the power of the imagination. So, all right. Okay, so we talked about yesterday, of course, this whole gathering, this whole 12-day gathering is about, utilizing the laws of the universe, the law of attraction, mainly, and all the spiritual principles. And so that's the name of the game here. And let's talk a little bit about imagination redirection. I talked about redirecting our thoughts and our minds yesterday a little bit. So now I want to talk a little bit more about how this is part of the human condition, right? We're human. So of course we're going to have negative or worrisome thoughts from time to time, and they're going to conjure images in our imagination of doom and gloom. Anybody relate to this? It happens, right? Now, 9 times out of 10, when we're having these imaginings, they don't happen. They don't come to fruition. We have a buffer of time, which is amazing and graceful of the universe to allow us to kind of move through these feelings and then get to a different place. And so I'm about moving through these feelings faster so that I can manifest better and get out of that funky place. Um, the secret sauce here is to redirect our imagination simply by noticing what we don't want and then imagining what we would prefer instead, and going into that sacred place that nobody can touch except you and nobody can know except you. That is the power of your imagination. You can imagine while you're driving, while you're sleeping, while you're awake, while you're watching telly. I mean, where is when is your imagination not working? It's not working when you're in reaction mode. Well, it is, but it's working against you. So one of the tricks in manifesting here is using that high-powered imagination to imagine the thing, your desires, your dreams, your intentions for 2024, thinking from the end, seeing it at the end. Like, say, for example, one of your dreams or desires for 2024 is to be in a loving, committed relationship, a partnership, the best one of your life, right? And so what happens is in our human monkey mind, we think, how is that going to happen? How is that going to happen? What app do I have to go on? No, 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 no. You know, we get all stuck in the details, or then we let the past creep up and say, yeah, that's not going to happen. It's never happened yet. It's probably not. So we get into this. We kill basically the manifestation before it even has a chance to germinate. And so what Neville Goddard and what a lot of the masters of intention and manifesting profess and teach is to think from the end. Mike Dooley, another great manifesting teacher. So Neville Goddard says, determined imagination, thinking from the end, is the beginning of all miracles. So we see it from the end. And then that's basically it. So a lot of times when I'm in sessions with my clients, they will want to tell me, their end. And I'm like, no, 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 let's flip the switch. You tell me your end, and then I'll help you manifest it, right? And then they, again, we get caught up in the house, and then I just cut to it. It's like, okay, let's imagine you're in your greatest relationship. We don't have to see a face yet. We don't have to know all the details yet. But what does that feel like? What are you doing on Saturday morning? What kinds of activities are you doing in the evening? What does your extracurricular activity look like? Are you traveling? Are you going on vacations? Are you going to restaurants? How is this person treating you? How do you feel when you're in the presence of this person? Oh, like a queen, like completely and totally respected, as an equal partner, right? So we start to imagine and see the outcome of what we're wanting. And that is the quickest way to bring that into manifestation. So the imagination, guys, is everything. It really is. Okay, so I'm going to talk about my little hack that I do. And then I'm seeing some questions come in too. I'm going to talk about a little hack that I do with a lot of intention. A lot of you all know that I'm a big proponent, fan of meditation, but I have a very different meditation, and I'm going to share that with you in a minute. So Cheryl asks, is there a difference between an intention and a resolution for the new year? Cheryl, there is. So a lot of times, and it's a slight nuanced difference. But what happens when people make New Year's resolutions is they're making a list and then they're just kind of letting it go. There's not a whole lot of intention behind it. It's more of a lip service kind of thing, but it could very well be. It's just a matter of syntax. So if we want to call it a New Year's resolution or an intention, they're kind of interchangeable, but I think the word intention is stronger, and I think manifesting is way stronger. So a New Year um, resolution just indicates that this is something that's going to happen in January too. So it's got a kind of a short shelf life in my mind. So the connotations that we have with these words really matter. And for me, a New Year's resolution is something that's short-lived, happening in January, probably not going to be much longer than that. But when we're talking about manifestations and intentions for 2024, that opens up the whole space for the whole year in my mind anyway. So it just depends on what your perspective is really. And then also too, what I know about New Year's resolutions as a cultural norm is that they don't last, And so if I already have that information roaming around in my brain, it's going to affect my outcome. So then I just make a choice not to use that term because I know that statistically it doesn't have a lot of weight. And so I'm all about the mind games and choosing words that feed my brain and that resonate with me more. Um, so it really just depends on your perspective, right? So you can call it New Year's resolutions, and then I would maybe call it resolutions for 2024, blow it out a little bit more, intentions and desires and dreams. Use whatever words work for you. But culturally, yes, New Year's resolutions are fleeting. We all know the statistics. Everybody signs up to the gym, um, and then they're signed out by March. So, and then having a lot of times too, it's in the wording, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Yesterday, you made your laundry list where I said just data dump, get it all out, get all of the desires out. And then tomorrow, we're going to go in there and clean things up a little bit to make the intention and the words more meaningful. All right. So yes, that is my dream, to be in a loving relationship. That's awesome. That's very cool. And so when we, especially, let's go back to the New Year's resolution when we want to lose weight. That's a weak. That's a really weak intention or a resolution. So what? A half a pound, a pound? What does that mean? So tomorrow we're going to get into cleaning up the list, making them a little bit more specific so that they have more meaning and more juice. So as far as those New Year's resolutions go, they're kind of flaky. They're kind of too light, right? And so when we're setting intentions for 2024, we're going a little deeper. All right. So Cheryl says that helps. I'm glad that helps. Keep asking those questions. All right. So, oh gosh. All right. My favorite tool in manifesting is using my imagination in what I call an imagitation. So this is a meditation that I started to do back in I don't know, it was probably 2006. When The Secret came out, I was just all over that. And having that movie and having that book really put words to the things that I already knew. And so then I really started to explore that. That's kind of when I started my whole spiritual evolution at a larger level. And so what I would do is I started my first freelance company back then. And I recall, I was a school teacher the majority of my professional life. So I didn't know a lot about business, but I knew that I was always an entrepreneur. I knew, even when I was in school, I was painting houses, I was doing side jobs. I was always hustling and making money on the side to support my goal of being a school teacher. And then when I became a school teacher, it's like, oh my God, I signed up for poverty wages. That was a mistake. So I continued on my entrepreneurial path as I was teaching. I've always had a side gig, always, always, always. And then my side job started to become my livelihood. But that's with the help of the imaginations that I did, because I didn't know a lot about business. So I would go into these meditations. I would go out on the trails, and there was a lot of green trails and stuff. Green, I forget what they're called now, but I lived in Colorado and they were everywhere. And so I would go out to my favorite pond and I would have these really quiet meditations where first I would just do the traditional meditation and quiet my mind, get my body into homeostasis, really get relaxed. And then I would start to imagine having meetings with world leaders in my imagination. So I would see people who were great at business. I would see uh, Martha Stewart. I would see Oprah. I would see Marianne Williamson. I would see my spiritual teachers. I would see all these people that I respected, and I would ask them questions about my business and how do I structure things. And I would listen to them as they chimed in, and I could hear them in their own voices. And it was interesting because a lot of times I got answers. Well, most of the time I got answers that I could not have come up with myself. So I think there's a little bit of channeling going on there. But it was through my imagination that I was able to open myself to hear those messages and to see them playing out. Seeing everybody at my round table in my white room, very pristine, very clear. And so the first time I did that, I started to see changes in my business. I raised my rates. I did all kinds of different things that were counterintuitive to me, but I listened to the guidance. And so through the years, I have been using my imaginations for manifesting. And I think it's a really powerful tool, especially for Westerners who have a hard time sitting still in a quiet meditation where the goal is to kind of empty your mind. I think for a lot of us, that's very difficult. And because it's difficult, it's not fun. And because it feels like a job, it feels like a task, it feels like we're not good at it, then we stop doing it, right? And so my solution for that was to, well, let's honor my Western tradition of having to do things, staying busy, and the new Eastern philosophies that I'm learning. So I combine the two of them. So sitting in a meditation, quieting the mind, and then imagining what it is that you're wanting to create, what it is you're wanting to pull in to have happen in your life. The big things, the small things, and there's no limit to your imagination. So you can imagine yourself being in a loving relationship. You can imagine yourself being in that ideal job, in that ideal workplace, and how that feels. Imagine being in your community with your tribe, with the people who love and support you, and how much fun you're having, and all the different excursions and adventures you're going on, the river rafting, the camping, the glamping, so you can go into that place. And even though you haven't even met these people yet, you don't know who they are, what's around the corner, but you're imagining the scenarios, and then you're taking it into the feeling place of, wow, this feels really fun. I feel really successful. I see lots of dollars in my bank account. I see my business really growing. I see people making their appointments in my scheduling, and my schedule just filling up with readings for the weekend. I can imagine and visualize all those things, and then boom, 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 you see them come in, you see them happen. Now, as you may have noticed, when I'm talking about imagination, I am not even exploring the how this can happen. I'm not even looking at that. I'm only staying in the place of it is done. It is here. It is mine. It's in my vortex. And the veil between me and my vortex is getting smaller and smaller and thinner because it's going to manifest into my reality, and I know it. So there's this knowing that happens. And this knowing happens, gosh, when you read really good books and do the work and see it for yourself and learn these principles and take these courses and do these gatherings, it just gives you more and more tools and validation that this stuff is real, right? And so our imaginations is the thing, the screen, that that it has to be there first for it to be in the physical form. So Wayne Dyer used to say, and I think he even wrote a book called it, when you see it, you'll believe it. What do people usually say? When they see it, they'll believe it. Or when you believe it, you'll see it. Something like that. I messed it up. But he was all about visualizing it and seeing it first, and then seeing it here first, and then you'll see it in the physical form. So it all starts here. And so when we're using our imagination in the scary place, in the upside down world, in the place of fear, I call that feeding the monster. We are giving life to the thing that we're wanting to avoid, and by doing so, we're growing it. So if we know that that is a universal law, then let's play with it. Let's leverage it. Let's feed the other thing. Let's feed the thing that we really want. Let's feed the healthy version, the people, the jobs, the plants, all of the things that we're wanting. Let's feed that instead, right? And so with this, you can imagine, I'm kind of going full circle now, that using our imagination for manifesting requires us to get back to our childlike ways. And I'm not saying childish, I'm saying childlike, to have that wonder, using that imagination. Remember when you were 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, oh my gosh, you were on fire. You were drawing all the time. You were playing with things. You were playing make-believe and pretend and tea parties. And you were writing your Christmas list to Santa, and you were wishing for your birthday. You were always in this place of manifesting and belief and letting it go. And not once did you say to yourself when you were 5, it's like, that's not going to work. No, that's adulting yuck 101, right? So we get back into that childlike place of infinite possibilities. Anything is possible. Why not? Let's play. Let's put it to the test. Let's imagine. Let's go. Michelle Harris is here. Hey. And so this is going to be your job, or your activity for today. I don't want to call it a job because it's play. So this is your daily activity, is to go into your imagination and have a meditation, have an imagitation. I want you to sit set a timer, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm telling you this, when those of you who struggle with meditation and you can't get out of it fast enough, and you've set that timer for 5 minutes and it feels like 30, I can guarantee you this. When you sit in an imagitation and you set that timer for 5 minutes, you're going to want to set it for 5 more. And then you're going to want to set it for 5 more, because it feels so good. It feels so empowering to be in your imagination and thinking about the things that you want and what it feels like to have it and to be it and to be doing it, and to be in love and to be traveling and doing all of those things, and to have the house and to have the job and to be healthy and to be in your highest state of well-being, and to see yourself in the body that you want, and to see yourself in the job that you want, and to see yourself of service and of helping and being the best version of yourself, or whatever it is that you're wanting to create for 2024. So sit for 5 minutes. I guarantee you're going to want to go longer. And watch from the end. Just take an intention, one at a time, just one for today. Set one of your desires, take one of your desires, your biggest one, and play with that. Be in that state of mind, knowing that all things are possible under heaven, and that if it can happen for other people, of course it can happen for me. And if I feel this way, then other people feel this way. You are not alone. We are all part of that cosmic soup. We are all connected with that. So whatever you're feeling, other people are too. And I'm saying this because a lot of people will think, and I'm probably picking up on somebody watching this, is that I'm feeling a negative response when it comes to relationship, like all the good ones are taken, da 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 da. We're going to get into the pulling the weeds section in a couple of days. But for today, if that happens and you're going into your meditation and then you start to have those negative thoughts, those automatic negative thoughts, what Dr. Amen calls ants, we're going to pull those weeds quickly. We're going to go, no, not today, not today, no weeds today. And so we're just going to focus on the intended, desired result, right? The end result, and seeing it and being there. And of course, that's the end according to what we know, but there's always more. But I'm not going to overwhelm you with that. Okay, so unless anybody has any questions, I kind of want to go ahead and close out and keep these dailies on the shorter side so that I don't burn you out. So hopefully you saw in the chat box, there is a link to the dreams, desires, and intentions little worksheet for you so that you can plot this stuff out and have a visual and see it if you don't already have it in your journal. And so get those intentions out, get those desires out, get all the things out in all areas of your life, relationships, money, family, job, household, health, well-being, all the things, your spiritual life. Jot it all down. Let's just get all this out. And then tomorrow we're going to play with that a little bit more, and start getting into the other aspects of manifesting. So these first 3 days, we're in step 1, which is ask. Remember the steps. There's ask, align, allow, and taking action or aligned action. And so as we're in the asking phase still, we're still just letting all of these desires come up without censoring. And then today we're going to take one of those and we are going to imagitate about it, and we're going to pretend and try it on and feel what that feels like from the ultimate end result according to you now, right? It will grow, but for today. And then tomorrow we're going to continue to explore the asking process of it and maybe cleaning some things up and opening things up so that we're not putting limitations on ourselves. Alrighty. So unless anybody has anything else to say, I'm going to go ahead and close this out and say thank you for being here. Again, Happy New Year. I hope this is going to be the best 2024 ever, the best year of your life, really getting into a place of intention and no more flying by the seat of our pants, and really realizing our power of desire and intention so far. There's more. All right. I'll see you guys here tomorrow. Thanks again for being here. Peace and blessings.